Hello, hello, and welcome. Good evening, good afternoon. Now it's good evening everywhere, huh? Welcome to the show, the new Brothas-in-law show. We got a good one lined up to you. I got myself, Mike Bradley, and my co-host Corey Taylor. We are here to give you another good video that we're going to talk about with some police stuff going on. Okay. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and hit that like, share, subscribe to this channel. If you got any questions, comments, feel free to hammer away on them keyboards and let us know. We can answer your questions. This is live. So appreciate everybody for joining us. Stacy, I see you on here. Tone, I see you on here. We're going to have a good little discussion on this particular topic. Well, it's a video. It's not a topic, but it's just an inside look of what officers might be able to face in any given moment. Hey, Corey, how you doing? What's going on?
What's up, bro?
All right.
Excited to be here. Excited to talk about police. You know how we do. First, before we jump into it, Mike, I'd like to give a shout out to all the veterans because tomorrow is Veterans Day. So shout out to all my fellow brothers and sisters out there holding the line. Thank you all for your service. We greatly appreciate it. And to our law enforcement brothers and sisters out there, we thank you all for what you do. We do have a good show lined up tonight, as Mike said. Shucks, I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? It may not seem as a big issue to some people. But, you know, when a child gets hold of a gun, it typically doesn't end very well. But in this case here, nobody got hurt. No officers got hurt. The kid didn't get hurt. So we're going to break this video down. This is a 4-year-old boy who got a hold of a gun when his dad was being arrested by police. Hey, Jesus loves you. Welcome. He got a hold of his dad's gun inside the car while he's being apprehended by the police, and gets a discharges a round. And as you'll see in the video, it's very, very disturbing that this guy would put this child in this type of situation. So we'll break it down, whether or not the cops acted as reasonable officers. Did the individual in the car follow the C.AL.M acronym? And if you missed that video last week when we talk about C.AL.M, which stands for comply, answer questions, listen, and move on, after the show tonight, I'll put the link in the description, and you can check that video out at your leisure and help that video go viral, everybody. And again, we'll break this down and give you our honest opinions, whether or not this was a good call for service. So, Mike, if you want to set it up, I'll get the video ready.
Yeah. So this was a call for service. The police were called to, I believe it was a fast food restaurant or the area thereof of a fast food restaurant where a guy, a driver, was waving a firearm around at the person in the window because he was upset with the order that he had given. And so police end up contacting him, as you will see, and we can watch what unfolds at that point. But it's pretty surprising, and it just goes to show you a reminder: you got to keep your head on a swivel. You got to always be aware of everything, a 360 view of everything around you as a police officer when you're dealing with these types of calls for service. So they do locate this guy in the car. I don't know if they knew he had kids in the car or not at that moment, okay? But they contact him, and this is what happened, as you're about to see.
All right. So as always, be very cautious. There is some profanity in this video, so if you have sensitive ears, just be cautious of the language in this video. All right, so without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into the video. It's about 8 minutes.
We're gonna crack the window if you don't open the door.
On your phone. It's on your phone. With your right hand, open the door.
Lock this door now!
With your right hand, open the door. Open the door. Open your door. Come on out. Come on out. Hold on.
Step out! Step out!
Get out of the car.
Down!
Good.
Get your arm out!
Get your arm out.
Get your arm out now! Go!
Drop the gun. Shots fired. Kids.
You alright, kid? You alright? Come on. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
That loud noise you heard was the firearm that went off, and that kid actually got a hold of it and fired it.
Pulls out a gun. Hey, right here. Let's take them inside.
Yeah. Okay, here. This one here, okay? You okay? Come on, let's go. Go inside. Hold on. Thank you. Would you just keep him in there for me, please?
I think this is just another angle.
Okay.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Let me see your hands.
Keep in mind, you see those windows tinted? That's one of
Open
the
your
biggest
window.
threats of
Open the door.
monster. I can clearly
Open the door.
see inside that vehicle.
Okay. Open the door. Real slow. Okay, put down your phone. Put down your phone. With the
This incredible device
I
removes
forgot about
50
the
times more
commercials.
earwax than cotton swabs and lasts a lifetime.
your right hand, open the door. With your right hand, open the door. Open the door. Open your door. Come on out. Come on out. Hold on. I got my. Hold on.
Step out!
Get out of the car.
Down!
Gun.
Get your arm out!
Get your arm out.
Get your arm out now! Go!
Drop the gun. Shots fired. Kids. Look. Gotcha. Get her in the car. Yeah. Kids pulled out the gun and closed it.
Where's the shell casing at? I don't
Hey,
know.
Goat, I see you.
Was the kid inside the car?
All right. So the rest of that is just the police officers doing their investigation. But wow, I mean, if I were there, Mike, my heart would have dropped down into my stomach, right?
You ain't the only one.
Right.
Mine too. I mean, the officers handled it the best they could in this situation. They located the car, suspect in the car. Again, folks, this person was reported as waving a gun or pointing a gun at the person in the restaurant because he was upset with his order. So these officers are already, on the edge contacting this guy because they assume, and rightfully so, that he is armed with a firearm. You know what I'm saying? Now, as you can see, Corey, they approached that car. The car got tinted windows. This is why officers hate tinted windows like that, because it's so unsafe. Now, imagine if this was nighttime. You wouldn't see nothing. That officer would have to approach that car, you know what I'm saying, without already at a point of disadvantage because they can't see inside that car, but you can see out,
Right.
Luckily, this was in the daytime. The driver rolled down the window, and luckily he wasn't right there with the gun pointed at the officer, ready to shoot. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I said, we always talk about, red flags. So my first question to our viewers is tonight, what was your first red flag? that you saw as the officers made their approach? Mike already said, the dark tinted windows. Mine, second after the dark tinted windows, mine was because he would not comply, right? So right at the jump, the acronym C.A.L.M, that not being compliant for me, just all right, started raising red flags. Like, hey, why aren't you getting out? Why don't you put that cell phone down? Right. And those are the type of things we, as officers, we have to start thinking about when we conducting stops like this, or answering call for service. When you're not complying, you're not listening to what we're saying, you're not following that C.A.L.M acronym. All of a sudden now, that right hand has a cell phone and you're kind of like, okay, well, dude, just put the phone down and get out the car. It's that simple, right? But he doesn't do that. Now he's got to get snatched out. He didn't want to get out the car because he knew the gun was in the car. Now, where the gun was in the car, we don't know. One of the reports I had read said that the guy gave the kid the gun to kind of hold the gun for him. I don't know.
This kid was 4 years old, by the way. 4 years old.
You're right. Right. 4 years old.
4 years old.
Yeah, for 4 years old. So I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, your heart drops because you hear that shot ring out. Your natural instinct as an officer is to draw down too. Right? You hear shots. I mean, any combat guy does it. It's embedded in us. So when we hear that shot ring off, we automatically go into a defensive posture. And so, you have to identify what your target is. Because again, like Mike said a couple minutes ago, y'all, having that dark tint on the windows is very dangerous. We don't know who's in there. Like, you don't know. Just if you look at the picture on screen right now, look at that rear side passenger window right there. Only thing you can see is the officer's reflection. You can't see inside the interior of that car. So how is the officer supposed to know who's crouched down in that back seat? Now, my second question to you all is, if the officer shot back, would they have been wrong?
That's a good question, Corey. I mean, you know what? I mean, I can only speak for myself. I'm not going to shoot until I see what I'm shooting at.
There you go.
If now let me clarify, because I'm speaking from a police officer in a police officer's point of view and that type of scenario. We're not talking about combat here where you lay down cover fire and you move. You see what I'm saying? We're not talking about military combat here. We're talking about a call for service. You're dealing with specific people in a specific type of thing. Now, I got to see my target before I shoot. I'm not just going to shoot. Even though I hear firearms went off, yeah, I'm drawing down, but I'm not going to shoot until I see a target. My question is, did these officers know that there were kids in the back of that car? I don't think they knew that initially. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they realized it was small children in the back of that car. Obviously, they didn't know where the gun was inside the car. Although I heard one of the officers say gun, but what gun did he see? Did he see a gun that was on the suspect, or did he see a gun that was inside the car?
So that's what I'm saying. I don't know. How did the kid get the gun? Was the gun ever visible? Did he see something that looked like a gun and he just automatically shouted out gun? And that's a typical thing. I mean, officers are trained, and when you see that, you got to call it out to give everybody else that situational awareness. To answer my own question, no, I would not have shot if I heard the shots ring off. Again, primary thing is you got to identify your target. Just because you hear rounds ringing off, what I would say allegedly hear a round pop off, does not necessarily mean you need to just start going, John Wayne out there and just start blasting things. You got to identify your target. You got to know where you're shooting, where that shot came from. You got to assess the situation. But Jesus Love You said, he believes that tent should be banned on vehicles. As an officer now, or previously being an officer, I would say I agree with you on that. If you'd asked me that question prior to becoming a law enforcement officer, I'd have been, what's the big deal? Right? Before then, you'd have been like, what's the big deal with having the tent on the windows? Why can't I have my tent as dark as I want? Well, you can't have your cake and too. If you going out here and doing dirt, and you are prone to being stopped by law enforcement. If I approach your vehicle, I need to be able to see inside the vehicle. I don't want to walk up to your vehicle and ask you to roll the window down and you got a shotgun pointed right at me. That's not a cool feeling. You know what I mean? I guess that's a big question, Mike. Did the officers know there were kids in there? I would say.
I mean,
I don't know.
And you mentioned we talk about the tinted windows. You hit it on the nail. I think most citizens don't realize, well, what's the big deal? That's how they think when they think of tinted windows. But tinted windows are probably the one of the biggest threats to an officer when he's doing a traffic stop, is you can't see. Now to Jesus Love You's point, in California, tinted windows are illegal from the driver's side up, basically. So you can't have tinted windows on your driver and passenger side front, or obviously the front windshield. You can have tint on the back passenger and driver and passenger side rear in California. Now, I don't know if it's like that across the country. Is it like that in Virginia?
It is. We carried a sheet with us that gave every state's percentage of visibility through the window that you're supposed to have. So you can't have like the limousine tint where you just can't see in the windows. The driver's side and the passenger side windows have to be I want to say 20%, I think. Is it 25% visibility of light coming through?
Yeah.
But your rear windows passenger side windows could be a little darker, and then it didn't matter how dark the back window was. And of course, you can't have any tint on your front windshield unless you have a certain disease where your sunlight messes with your skin. Then you have to have, and I know we're getting off topic just a little bit, but
it's still good though.
While I'm thinking about this, if you are that type of person, make sure you had that proper paperwork in your vehicle. You just can't say, well, I have skin disease, and too much sunlight will affect my skin. Well, show me, prove me that that's what you can have that, because you'll get a note, medical note from your primary care provider stating that you have this condition, and you're able to have that tint on your front windshield. And be honest with you guys, I've only came across maybe a handful of people like that, and the rest were, no, you can't do that. So I could write you a ticket or a summons if you were from Ohio coming into Virginia and your tint is illegal because it's too dark. I could write you a ticket based on your state's percentage. So yeah, it's a huge safety issue, and I'm saying, I apologize again. We didn't mean to get sidetracked here, but
real quick, just to cap it off, since we on it real quick, my rule of thumb when I was an officer, what I used to tell people is you can't have any tint that's darker than what the manufacturer put on there. So if you got some aftermarket tint on top of
you go,
what it was when it came from the factory, that's going to be in the state of California. That's going to be illegal. You know what I'm saying? So just so people understand why it's dangerous to an officer when they're confronted with those tinted windows. Now, in this situation, you see those windows, they're pretty tinted. And once you got the suspect out of the car, you got him on the ground, you're dealing with him, but you're dealing with him close to that car. You haven't searched that car. You don't know what's in that car. I don't know, like I said, we don't know if the officers knew that those kids were in the back of that car. But the fact that these kids were able to access that handgun in that car and then have the knowledge to point and pull the trigger, is something else to me. That's amazing. That's something that you got to be scared to death of as an officer. Because I tell you what, Corey, if I saw that 4-year-old holding that gun pointed at me, I'm not going to shoot, because I think it's something in me that's it's a 4-year-old kid. You ain't going to shoot no 4-year-old kid. Even if
you're not.
You just going to have to hope and pray and try to talk that kid to put that gun down. That's all you're going to do as an officer. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. Jesus Love said he had to be taught that. He probably had, and I bet you that kid's held that gun before. This wasn't his first rodeo of handling a weapon, because he knew exactly what before the show started. Mike and I were talking about, I mean, that trigger had to be real light, meaning he didn't have to put much pressure to pull that trigger. Because I was like, man, I have a 4-year-old grandson, and I don't think he can pull any of the triggers that I have. So I agree with you, Jesus love you. He definitely was taught that 100%. 100%. What say
Tone,
you?
Yeah. Tone says, so in Louisiana, they can have tent almost everywhere, huh? Now, see, that's crazy. But now, Tone, you can see why it would be a threat to officers. Like, if this guy was sitting in the car, and like Corey said, if he could have a shotgun pointed right at our dome, right when we walk up, we wouldn't even have a clue, because we got to tell you to roll the window down. You know what I'm saying? That's a very dangerous situation. There could be times where if I'm on a traffic stop like that, I might even call the driver out of the car to come back to me. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Especially if I'm stopping somebody where there appears to be multiple occupants of the vehicle with tinted windows, especially if it's dark. I might call the driver to come back to me. These are one of those incidents where you got to understand why an officer would call somebody and make them get out of the car on a regular traffic stop to come talk to you. You see what I'm saying? That would be a situation where something like that would happen.
Right. And they should have been on alert anyways, based on the call for services. Again, we, are speculating based on the articles that we have read on this. They knew a possible weapon might have been involved in this. I don't know. I mean, it's when I see videos like this, and when I look at the vehicles and I see that tint on it, man, I mean, it just, that was the most scariest thing for me when I used to work midnight shift is when I conducted a traffic stop, and those windows were tinted, and I couldn't see inside it, man. I never said anything before. My wife doesn't know, nor my parents, but that will probably would be like the most scariest moment of my entire life is when I did traffic stops on midnight shift. And when you couldn't see inside that vehicle, and every time you walk up to that car, man, I pray to God, like, I hope this isn't it for me. You know what I mean?
You're right. That was, and me too. When I did traffic stops at night like that, and them windows are tinted, you can't see nothing in there. It's always in the back of your mind that let's hope this dude ain't pointing the gun at me while I tell him to roll the window down or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you're at nighttime and they don't have the window down, most people, when they have tinted windows like that at night and they get pulled over by police, they will naturally automatically just roll their window down because they want you to see them. But if you approach a car and they don't roll the window down, oh man, you talk about a pucker factor right there, man. You don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
You
Why
don't.
you
You
person
don't.
roll the window down? And
You don't. And I tell you, one time, man, I did midnight, and like you said, you that pucker effect. As soon as you get up to the car, you already smell. And this is before marijuana was even legal. And you smelt marijuana. Now, Mike knows, and so does every law enforcement officer know, when you smelt marijuana coming from the car, guess what else was in that car? Drugs and guns. 100%. All the time, man. And my luck, every doggone time I would get into a situation like that, here it comes. Dang, I was like a magnet. It seemed like I always attracted those types of stops, man. And every time I would go on one, man, it's like I can't curse because my mom is on here, but you had that what the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot moment, and like here we go, and you can't see because the individual in the car has the windows tinted, and it's like, man, who's in the back seat? Do they have a weapon? And these are the things the officers are thinking about when they go up to the car when you would smell marijuana coming out the car, because it was always, I would say probably about 97% of the time, it was going to be drugs and more drugs and weapons in that vehicle when you smelt marijuana. About 90 to 97% of the time, man. It was just, and so that's for me. Now, Jesus love you. Yeah, I don't like tinted windows.
No, you know what I'm saying. Now let's talk about a little bit how these officers. Well, real quick
Can y'all hear
before
me?
we get it. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Mic
Yeah,
check?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now there was more than one officer giving orders to this guy. I didn't like that. The guy that was right there by the driver's side, he should have been the only one giving commands. There shouldn't have been some guy on the side yelling, "Get out the effing car!" No. They got too many captains up there trying to tell somebody what to do. You had one guy there, one officer on the driver's side should have been the only one giving orders, commands to this dude. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's
so
a huge problem.
Right. I didn't like that.
I think it's a huge problem. We see that a lot when we, as we've been doing these videos. Only one officer should be giving all the commands, and for us, it was always who was primary on that call. Mm-hmm. If you're not primary on that call, you need to be shutting your mouth and just giving assistance to that one officer that is primary. You're just an assistant. You do what that primary officer actually needs you to do. Hey, you need to go here. Hey, get them out that car. There's only the subjects or the citizens in the vehicles only need to be hearing one voice giving the commands, because you're going to confuse them. Like, who do I listen to? Well, he's telling me to do this. You're telling him to get out of the car. He's telling you to stay in the car. He's telling you to put your hands on the steering wheel. Who do you expect that the citizen listen to? So I think that's a problem that is ongoing, continuous training that the officers go through. I know when I was an FTO, and that's field training officer, when I had young rookies riding with me out of the academy, that was my number one. You don't say anything. I give the commands. You just do what I need you to do. Matter of fact, you just stay back. That's what you do. Let me do the talking. Because
the primary officer and the cover officer, they have two completely different assignments, two different jobs. If you're a cover officer, your job primarily is to cover. That's it. You don't give no commands. You don't do any of that. You cover. You watch the suspect. You watch that car. There could have been another officer. We weren't there. It doesn't show that on the video. But there could have been another officer on the other side of that car still having a visual on what was inside that car. Maybe that officer would have seen those kids in the back or something like that. And if they did see these kids, you're obviously not going to immediately take the kids out while you are detaining or arresting the driver of the car outside on the ground. But you are going to keep an eye on them to make sure that they are just sitting in the back seat of the car, that they don't get involved or things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know if that happened. I don't know in this situation. I don't know if that happened or not. You know what I'm saying? But that's what a cover unit would be doing in this type of situation. What say you, Corey?
No, you're 100% correct. Again, it's only one person only needs to be given the commands. Getting the kids out. Once you identify the kids are in there, they should have been getting the kids out of there, separating them from this. Now they did do good by getting them out of the area, because I think the citizen there, the guy they were apprehending, I think he ended up having a medical emergency, ended up having a seizure or something or other, and then called rescue, and they put the kids inside the McDonald's right there. So that was good. But how do you think, Mike, that the C.AL.M acronym plays in this?
Well, first of all, you got to comply. You know, the driver, did he comply or not? Might have taken him a while. He was partially complying slowly. You know what I'm saying? Probably not as fast as I'd like, but he was moving slow in what he was doing. Folks, if you got a cell phone in your hand, let's talk about that for a little bit, Corey. If you got a cell phone in your hand and you're sitting in the seat, and maybe you just happen to have it in your hand, or you think you're recording what's going on or something like that, that officer, you should know when that officer means business. This isn't just a casual contact or a simple traffic stop of a stop sign violation. We are stopping you because you were reported as having a gun or pointing a gun at somebody. So we're going to be elevated in our contact with you. If I tell you to put that cell phone down, definitely put that cell phone down. That is not complying if you don't put that cell phone down. At that point, that kind of contact, any recording that you think you're trying to do goes out the window, because now it's all about that officer maintaining control of that scene and that situation and giving you commands to make sure he or she handcuffs you, detains you, arrests you, whatever they're trying to do. They're trying to do that safely so that no one gets hurt. And I don't need you to have a cell phone in one hand while I'm giving you orders to get out the car and you're not putting that cell phone down. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna have to put my hands on you if you do that. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to do that. The comply. That's the big one right there. You gotta comply. Even if you put the cell phone down, they say put the cell phone down, put that cell phone down and do exactly what they say. You gonna sense if those officers are, how serious they are. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to tell you to put a cell phone down if I don't have to. You know what I'm saying? It depends on the type of call, depends on the type of contact I'm dealing with or what I'm contacting you for. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Right. In public, generally, officers don't mind if you record. That's not the issue. But when you have stuff in your hands as the suspect, or someone that I'm dealing with, suspect and or passengers in the car, that's a problem. So you need to clear your hands, make sure the officers can see your hands and do what they tell you to do.
Here's what I add to that. The reason why, it's not that they don't want you to videotape or whatever, but the question is, can that cell phone be used as a weapon? The answer would be yes. Can that cell phone be converted into a single shot firearm? Yeah.
I have seen cell phones that are designed like that. You're right.
Yep. So it's not that the officer is wanting to be, a butthole to you. It is an officer safety thing. Anything in your hands can be used as a weapon, and a weapon doesn't have to mean it has to shoot a round or a projectile at you. This ink pen in my hand could be a weapon. Anything you can pick up and put in your hand, you can use as a weapon. So that's why We don't want anything to be in your hands. I want to see the happy fingers, 10 fingers in the palm of your hands. Make sure there's nothing in there. So I just want to add that in there, Mike. You good? Go ahead, bro.
No, and then I think the way they handled the kids was as best as they could. They realized that this was a 4-year-old who just fired a weapon at us. Luckily, the 4-year-old didn't have the weapon pointed close enough to the officers to where they was actually going to hit one of the officers. You know, if I read the article, yeah, it was close. But if I read the article correctly, as the child came out the window with the handgun, one of the officers saw the kid come out the window with the handgun and immediately was able to push that handgun up away from the officers as the kid pulled the trigger. You know what I'm saying? If I understood the article correctly. So, but the way they handled the kids afterwards, I think was the best as they can. They tried to calm them down, even though the 4-year-old may not really, obviously doesn't have a idea of the seriousness of what just happened. You know what I'm saying? So they talked to the 4-year-olds like they should have talked to the 4-year-olds. They calmed them down, tried to get them and remove them completely from that situation. You know what I'm saying? And so that they are safe, so that they can make the firearm safe and get the suspect in custody and continue on. What say you, Corey?
No, it's 100%. I don't think you could have done anything any better than what they did to remove the kids from the scene. However, I will say that once you identified they were kids, the female officer, she should have holstered up, because I think in her video camera you could see her as she's still trying to talk to the kids. She still had her weapon in her right hand. I think at that point you need to go ahead and holster up. I mean, I understand, you know, she was caught up in the moment. I get that, but you're dealing with kids. They're scared. They're frantic. You know, and one thing they don't want to see is another weapon. You want that kid to be able to come to you and, you know, and know that you're not a threat to them. You're not going to hurt them because you have your gun out. So I think once they render to say the kid that no longer has the weapon, holster up, let them know you're there to help them, which they did. And they were able to remove the children from the scene. So I also see that they charged this guy for child endangerment, which is definitely the right call. I'm not sure, though. They didn't say, the article I read didn't say anything about, you know, him being charged for the reason why they were called there. But I think the child endangerment charge would trump the disturbance call any day. So, and rightfully so. So for
ahead. Our viewers, let me ask our viewers a question. You give me your input on this, Corey. Why do you think this 4-year-old made that decision to grab a gun, stick it out the window, and shoot in the direction of the officers? I mean, you know, we can all give our opinion on that, but I'd be interested to hear some opinions from our viewers and stuff about why they think that happened. How is it that a 4-year-old is able to make that kind of decision and do that kind of action? Corey, what you think?
Let me reply to what my mom was saying. She was saying that's why the kids were crying, meaning I guess I'm meaning that because of the gun, the officer having the gun. I think the kids were scared. That shot went off. It scared them, and then seeing their dad being apprehended, I believe that's why the kids were frantic and upset about that. All right, what was your question, Mike?
No, I was going to say why. You answered it. You answered it. Why you think a 4-year-old would have the mental capacity to make that kind of decision of something so drastic, in my eyes, as a 4-year-old,
to pull the trigger.
It just seems like a 4-year-old should not be in a mind frame to pick a gun up and shoot at the officers like that. In other words, you must have realized that 4 years old, you must have been taught that officers are bad people. That's what I'm thinking about.
Well, that's what Jesus Love You was saying earlier. You know, he had been taught that, right? Stacey's saying the same thing. He had to be taught that. He had, like I said earlier, he handled that weapon before. This wasn't his first go around. He knew how to use that weapon. Dad must have that weapon laying around. Might say, "Hey, come here, boy. Let me show you how to do it." You know, but the mindset of the 4-year-old is well, could that still have been taught to him? Hey, you ever see your dad in trouble? Pick up the gun. You see them dealing with the police. Pick the gun up and shoot at the police. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to go that far with my assumption, but I will say I do believe he's handled that weapon before for sure.
Tone has a real good question. If the 4-year-old would have actually shot the officer, basically, what kind of charge would that have been? Now, Tone, at 4 years old, you legally cannot commit a crime in California. I'm sure it's probably like that across the country, but in California, you legally cannot commit a crime at 4 years old. That's far too young to understand, to see if that child understands what he or she is doing. He's 4, not even old enough to start school yet. You see what I'm saying? Going to kindergarten. So, but who would be held accountable for that would be the father. The father neglectfully or purposely neglectfully let that child have access to a firearm that belonged to him in the car. You see what I'm saying? So that's where that charge would fall onto. Just a quick example: if you have children let's say if you have children in your home, you got children in your home and you got firearms, and the firearms are unsecured. There's no effort made into securing that firearm. If a kid comes and gets a hold of your firearm that's sitting on your coffee table, and they go outside and shoot the neighbor, and they're 6 years old, okay, and they go outside and shoot the neighbor, you are going to be held responsible for that. Right. In the state of California, it's a crime if you don't secure your firearm properly when you have children in the house and someone is able to get a hold of that firearm and do some damage with it. Okay, so I hope that answers that question.
I think that's pretty consistent across country. The parent is going to be the one held accountable for the actions of that juvenile. No different if you had a bottle of alcohol laying out on the counter and your 4-year-old gets a hold of that, opens it up and starts drinking the beer, and passes out, and ultimately maybe has some type of medical emergency and ends up in the hospital. That parent's going to be the one being charged with child neglect or contributing to the delinquency of a minor. So, in this case, if they had shot that officer, like you said, Mike, that guy would have been held accountable for it, and rightfully so. And that's why he was still charged with child endangerment, because he allowed the kid to have access to a firearm, even though he probably didn't physically give the kid the weapon. He made it so that the kid could have access to
it. Delando makes a good. She says, "I take it the handgun was already loaded with a round in the chamber." I mean, if that 4-year-old was able to load that magazine up, slap it in that gun, and rack around in the chamber, somebody definitely been training that 4-year-old.
That's right.
That would be something. And Jesus Loves You is right on point. He says, I believe his father probably taught him that. Maybe a 4-year-old would not know how to do that unless he was taught. I agree with you. We agree with you 100%. I think that 4-year-old was taught that not only how to use that firearm. I think that 4-year-old was taught to shoot at police. That's not far-fetched. because at 4 years old, when you see a uniformed police officer, I mean, I just can't see that your first thought is to let me shoot at these police, which is even worse. That's even more dangerous. That if you got people out there, if you got criminals out there training their kids, 4 or 5 year old kids, about gunplay with police, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, Corey, you and I both know ain't nothing far-fetched in law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing far-fetched. So but yeah, that's a good point. Jesus loves you. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I just, man, that's a hard pill to swallow, that you would go to that level to teach your kids, how to handle a firearm at that point, primarily to target, uniformed police officers. I mean, so you have to think about what type of lifestyle this parent is living. This guy is living. You know what I mean? I bet you if he pulled his record, Mike, he's probably got a pretty lengthy rap sheet.
Probably, guaranteed. Probably got some criminal history of some sort. To be rolling around with firearms in your car for your 4-year-old to get a hold of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But see, the thing is, you responding to my mom, you would be surprised, what some of these kids can do. But to rack that slide back on an automatic, it is not easy for 4 years. You got some adults that can't do that. So that's why
be trained to do something like that.
You definitely had to be trained for. Now again, I don't know what type of weapon it was. It could have been a revolver. For all we know, we did they mention that? I don't think they mentioned what type of
what kind of weapon it was.
I don't think they.
And I'm not knocking. We're not knocking parents who choose to train their children on how to use firearms. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, in this situation, this 4-year-old felt it necessary in his 4-year-old mind to shoot at the police. That's what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, because I taught my boys, they were at least all over 12 years of age, so they weren't. I definitely would never start them at 4 years old. But you're right. That's not why we're knocking. You allow this young kid to little boy have access to that gun and to point. Maybe he thought his dad was in trouble. Well, he was, and just thought that he was just trying to help dad. Not say. I mean, we're speculating. I'm not trying.
I mean, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. But I mean, in today's times, man, I mean, it's a sad situation. I'm sorry that these kids had to been put in that situation. This is probably going to affect them probably for the rest of their lives. Until they get a little older and it becomes a distant memory. But this guy definitely, and Cal. Well, this happened in I think Salt Lake City.
Okay.
I think it was. So I don't know what their gun laws out there are, but I mean, if he's found and convicted of this, I mean, he should definitely lose his gun rights for a while.
But I think you started to say it, and you hit the nail on the head when you started to say, in today's times, it would not surprise me that these kids are learning to shoot at the police. That just wouldn't surprise me, unfortunately, in today's times, the way things are with police and the community's perception of every cop is bad, every cop is out there to hurt you. It just wouldn't surprise me that these younger kids, especially the younger kids, are learning from the next step up that's how you're supposed to look at police. And that's the problem I have.
I think you're right, because I'm trying to reflect back now on a video that we might have done where we seeing little kids as young as maybe 4 years old when they were cursing at the police. The kids were out there in their underwear. I think we did do it. I can't remember the name of it
Yeah, I
though.
can't remember that exactly.
But the little kids were out there, and we had mentioned that, that was learned. They learned to talk like this, to act like this towards authority. And
Yeah.
so, this is what we're saying here. This behavior of this 4-year-old was a taught behavior, possibly. That's what it would lead to me to think that this little kid was taught to do this. Hey, you're in trouble, where pick the gun up and shoot. Now, whether he's taught to shoot at police, I don't know. But in today's time, man, you just
don't know. You don't know. That's why I think today it makes it even more dangerous to be a police officer in today's climate. Because you just don't, you could come across that 10-year-old who might, have been taught certain things about police. And unfortunately, it's far too often today especially when you see videos of teenagers being stopped by police, their first instinct is to snap at the police. Why are you stopping me? You know what I'm saying? Is to have an attitude and not cooperate, not follow the C.AL.M acronym. That's unfortunately their first instinct to do. Not every teenager. We got a lot of good kids out here. Don't get me wrong. But there are some kids, it seems like that's their first instinct, is not to follow that C.AL.M acronym that we have. You know what I'm saying? And that's the sad part about it. I know we kind of getting off the subject a little bit of this video, but where we're going with this is thinking about kids, 4 years old. This is a 4-year-old decided to pick up a gun in his dad's car and shoot at the police. It's just
you're right. Jesus love you. So what was the one where the little kid was in his diapers cursing at the police and hitting the officers as well? Yeah, that's the one.
I remember that.
Yeah. So hey, look, y'all, we're gonna get ready here to wrap this one up. And we'd like to say thank you all for joining us tonight. If you're watching us over on YouTube, please go ahead and hit that like button over there for us and share it out. If you're watching us from Facebook, please hit the like button on there and put the hearts all on there for us and share this out. Again, our goal is to hit 200 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the year. We're at 155 right now. So thank you all who helped us out to grow our channel. And again, happy Veterans Day to all our veterans out there who are serving and past veterans out there. Mike, thank you for your service. Thank my brothers.
For your service. That's right.
This ain't an easy profession to be a law enforcement. This is why we're doing this show to help educate both sides, critiquing the law enforcement and educating citizens. And let us know if you find value in what we're doing. If you think it's a great thing that we're doing, please let us know in the comments or hit us up on Facebook, on our Facebook page if you like what we're doing. If you know of ways that we can improve the channel, let us know as well. We're always looking to improve and to get our message out there about the staying calm during the traffic stop. So any help you guys can do for us, we greatly appreciate it. We greatly thank you all for joining us every week and taking time out your busy schedules to listen to Mike and I share our police stories and talk about the acronym C.AL.M. So with that, you guys have a blessed day. I'm going to eat at several different restaurants tomorrow because it's Veterans Day. So for free.
Gotta cover all the bases.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting ready to go see that the new Black Panther movie tonight. So
okay.
See, I'll let you know how that's going to be. I enjoyed the first one.
All right.
See how this next one's going to be. So hope you guys have a good evening, a good weekend. Everybody stay safe.
Stay safe. Thank you all. Thank you, Jesus love you, for sharing this out on Facebook and Twitter. Appreciate it. And we'll see y'all next week. If you got something interesting you'd like for us to talk about, hit us up. Let us know. We will see y'all next week. Thank you. We love you, and God bless you.
Peace out.
Peace.